Good afternoon, welcome to Anglia News. A man's been arrested on suspicion of murder after the body of an 88-year-old woman was found at a home in Southend yesterday evening. A man aged 64 was also injured and taken to hospital nearby. Piers Hopkirk reports.
Forensics teams continue their searches today, hunting for clues as to how a frail pensioner came to be murdered here at her home in a quiet Southend street. Johnston Road is a popular area with retired people. Neighbours here have spoken of their disbelief.
Very shocked. I didn't know the woman, but we've never had anything like that round here. It's a bit frightening.
It is quite appalling that something like this can happen, an indiscriminate killing. So yeah, it's quite shocking and appalling, really.
Police were called here at around 6:45 last night, where they found the 88-year-old victim lying dead. Detectives have not yet revealed her name. The outcome of a post-mortem is expected later today. A 64-year-old man was also found here suffering head injuries. He's been treated and released from hospital. Meanwhile, a 34-year-old man is being held in custody by detectives. He's being questioned on suspicion of murder. Piers Hopkirk, Anglia News, Southend.
Parents have been warned to be extra vigilant after 3 young children in Suffolk died from meningitis. The Health Protection Agency says 1 child died on New Year's Eve and another died yesterday. Some reports say they were friends. Another child died of the illness a fortnight earlier. 2 men have died and 3 others were taken to hospital following a crash in Milton Keynes as they prepared to celebrate New Year. The 19 and 20-year-olds were killed when their car careered off the road shortly before midnight on New Year's Eve. Hannah Pettifer has more.
5 friends driving to a New Year's party. Only 3 would see in the start of 2010. The black Renault Clio careered off Marlborough Street in Milton Keynes and crashed into a hedge. Paramedics were called to the scene soon after.
The car was travelling along this road just shortly before midnight when it crashed, instantly killing 2 of its 5 passengers. The other 3 were taken to hospital, ironically just 60 yards from the scene.
It's thought the 3 survivors escaped with only minor injuries. Throughout the day, friends of the 2 young men visited the scene of the crash. They haven't yet been named by police, but their ages have been released. They were 19 and 20 years old. All 5 youngsters were from the Milton Keynes area. No other vehicle is believed to have been involved in the crash. The young victims are expected to be named in the next few days, once all relatives have been told of this New Year tragedy. Hannah Pettifer, Anglia News, Milton Keynes.
A man seriously ill in hospital after being run over whilst trying to stop a car theft in Luton. He was left with 2 broken legs, broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder following the incident in Kirby Drive yesterday afternoon. He's in a stable condition in Luton and Dunstable Hospital. Police believe 2 men had returned after stealing the car keys from a house the previous night. 1 man's been arrested on suspicion of GBH. Next tonight, an investigation is underway at Basildon Hospital into a possible outbreak of Legionnaire's disease. 2 patients are being tested for the potentially fatal lung infection. The suspected outbreak comes just weeks after the hospital was severely criticised for its high mortality rates and poor hygiene standards. Lorna Ramsey has more.
It's a new year, but for Basildon Hospital, it's the same headlines. An investigation into a suspected outbreak of Legionnaire's disease has put the hospital back in the spotlight. In November, it was given a damning report by the Care Quality Commission after a spot check in A&E found blood-splattered equipment, badly soiled mattresses and an unusually high death rate. Last month, inspectors said hygiene standards were improving, but now some patients and visitors are concerned.
It's quite frightening, what with everything else that's been going on with the hospital.
I'm really surprised to hear about Legionnaire's disease, because it's a very clean hospital.
We're going to get these diseases. You can't odds it. They're in the world and that's the end of.
The hospital has had 2 outbreaks of Legionnaire's disease in recent years, one in 2003 and another in 2007. And the hospital says because of that, the water system is tested regularly and any patients showing any symptoms are tested quickly so the disease can be dealt with as soon as possible. In a statement, Barbara Stussell, Chief Executive of NHS South West Essex, said the hospital is awaiting test results which will confirm the patient's condition and will help with any further investigation. Over the past few years, Basildon University Hospital has demonstrated commitment and determination in managing and controlling the disease. Swabs from both patients have been sent to a laboratory, and the results are expected next week. Lorna Ramsey, Anglia News, Basildon.
A soldier from 3 Engineer Regiment who was killed in Afghanistan on New Year's Eve has been named today. Sapper David Watson was a bomb disposal expert based at Carver Barracks in Wimbish in Essex. He died in an explosion near his base in Helmand Province. 245 British soldiers have now died in Afghanistan, 108 of them last year alone. Meanwhile, 450 servicemen and women from the American Air Base at Lakenheath in Suffolk have arrived in southwest Asia to take part in operations in Afghanistan. They'll be based there for 6 months, as James Bush reports.
An F-15 from the American 48th Fighter Wing on the ground at Lakenheath in Suffolk. 25 similar aircraft are about to begin a new deployment. The US Air Force won't say exactly where they're being based in Southwest Asia, but confirm that they'll be taking part in combat missions over Afghanistan.
They're there to provide close air support for all the coalition forces that are stationed around Afghanistan, and support flying, supporting and providing base support for the F-15s that we're taking to Afghanistan.
The aircraft from Lakenheath join a multinational task force working on Operation Enduring Freedom.
We're pretty familiar with the operation. We were there last year and there the year before, so we think that while there's always an element of risk and that the enemy's continuing to adapt to our tactics and the enemy's continuing to be a formidable foe, but we think we've taken on all the risk and trained well.
The servicemen and women from Lakenheath are due to return to Suffolk in June. James Bush, Anglia News.